I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife, Emily, cheated on me. We'd been together for 8 years, married for 5. It wasn't perfect, sure, but I thought we had a good thing going: trust, stability, a pretty decent life. We had a vacation planned just a week away at this fancy resort I booked for us, trying to reconnect after a rough patch. I was excited about it, imagining lazy mornings by the pool, romantic dinners, all the normal stuff. But all that peace was shattered the moment I started noticing things didn't add up. It started with little things. Emily's phone always face down, more secretive than usual. She'd get weirdly defensive if I even glanced at her screen. She'd make excuses about work emails or checking social media, but I knew her better than that. She wasn't exactly tech-savvy, and she rarely cared much about her online life. She was more the type to leave her phone lying around, not hide it like some treasure. But suddenly she was hiding it, and worse, she was acting tense whenever I was near. Then came the odd hours she started keeping. She'd say she was out shopping with friends, but I'd call her later and she'd be in some hotel lobby, trying to hide her phone as if she knew I was onto her. I caught her in a lie once when she claimed she was at a coffee shop. I saw her on camera from my hotel room, her with the massage therapist David. Not just a quick session, either. They'd been training with these long, unprofessional sessions that extended well past her own scheduled massages. I'd heard she was getting massages, yes, but what I didn't know was how often or with whom. The worst part: the hotel footage showed him entering our suite while I was on the golf course. I was out there, swinging at balls, thinking about how perfect this trip was gonna be, how I could finally relax and be with her without distractions. Meanwhile, David was sneaking into our room, a guy she'd been seeing behind my back for months. And I only found out because I decided to check the hotel's security footage after I saw her acting nervous on our last night. I'd told her I was gonna be playing a few rounds, but I had a gut feeling something was wrong, and I was right. When I pieced it together, my stomach just dropped. Seeing him walk into our room, knowing she was in there with him while I was miles away, was like a punch to the gut. I kept replaying the footage over and over. Her voice, her laugh, the way she hid her face when she thought no one was looking. I'd never felt such a mix of rage and heartbreak. This wasn't just some fling or a one-night stand. It was a full-blown affair. And the killer part: she'd lied to me so many times about her stress, about needing me time, about her friendships. All a cover-up. I remember feeling numb first. Shock, really. How could she betray me like this? After everything we'd been through, all the promises about honesty and being there for each other, I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach, then dragged through a mudslide of betrayal. I wanted to scream, to shout at her, to ask why, but I held back. I knew confrontation was coming, and I needed to get my head straight before I did anything. I couldn't believe I'd been blind, how someone I loved, trusted, and shared so much with could turn around and do this to me. I also started thinking about the other women in her life, how she always played the victim, how she'd lied to everyone about her busy schedule or need for independence. It all fell into place now. She was a liar, and worse, she was a cheater. She'd been sneaking around with David for months, probably even before this trip. I felt such a deep sense of betrayal that it was hard to breathe. I wondered how I hadn't seen it sooner, how I'd missed all the signs. The late nights, the secretive calls, the way she'd suddenly started dressing differently, more provocative. It all pointed to one thing: she was cheating. That's when I decided I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to confront her, face to face, and find out what she was really doing. I didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was there. I knew this wouldn't be easy, and part of me was terrified of what she'd say or do when I called her out. But I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I had to confront her, find out the truth, and decide what I was willing to tolerate. Because honestly, I was furious, broken, and confused all at once. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning of a long, painful journey. I waited until she got back to the room that evening. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept spinning, trying to process what I'd seen. Her sneaking into our suite with that smug look she always gets when she's hiding something. When she finally opened the door, I was already sitting on the bed, raw and trembling inside. She looked surprised, maybe even guilty, though she's good at pretending, so I didn't trust that for a second. She tried to brush past me, acting like everything was normal. "Hey, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, her voice a little too casual. That's when I snapped. I told her I knew everything about her little secret affair with David, about the hotel footage, about the long, secret massages, everything. She froze for a second, eyes wide. Then she started lying right away. "You're crazy," she spat. "You're overthinking, there's nothing going on." I wasn't buying it. I told her I'd seen the footage, I knew she was lying, and I wasn't going to keep pretending I didn't know. She looked furious, her face twisted in anger. "You have no right to accuse me of anything," she snapped. "You're out here golfing all day, ignoring me, and now you're just making shit up. You're just jealous because David's a better lover than you ever were." Her voice was venomous, like she was trying to hurt me as much as she could. It hit me hard, but I kept my cool. I wanted her to own up, but she doubled down with more lies. Said she was only getting massages to relax, that David was just a friend, that I was paranoid and insecure. That's when I lost it. I told her I didn't believe a word of her bullshit. She was cheating, and I wasn't just going to sit here and take her lies. I said I wanted the truth. No more lies, no more hiding. She looked like she was about to explode, yelling about how I was controlling, how I never trusted her, how I was paranoid because I was a terrible husband. I could feel my blood boiling. I told her if she loved me, if she cared about our marriage at all, she'd come clean right now, that I deserved honesty. Her face twisted even further. "Fine, you want the truth," she spat. "Yes, I've been with David. He's better in bed than you ever were, and I don't regret it. I needed something more. I was bored, and he made me feel alive again." She said it so cold, like she was describing ordering a coffee, not admitting to cheating on her husband. That moment I looked at her and saw the woman I married turned into a stranger, someone I didn't recognize at all. The emotional impact hit me like a freight train. I felt my chest tighten, like I was suffocating. My stomach churned with a mix of rage, heartbreak, and disbelief. How could she do this to me? How could she lie so effortlessly? I'd always tried to be a good husband, supportive, honest, loyal, and in return I got betrayal. It crushed me. I felt sick, like I was losing her, losing everything I thought our marriage was built on. We argued for hours after that. She kept crying, pretending she was so miserable, so misunderstood. Said she was just trying to find herself, that she didn't mean for it to happen. But I knew better. I saw her lying, her sneering, how she tried to manipulate the situation. It was all bullshit. I knew she was only sorry she got caught, not sorry she cheated. Every word she said, every excuse was just fuel to my anger. By the end of the night, I was exhausted and emotionally drained. I told her I needed some time to think, that I couldn't just forgive her right away. I knew I'd be making some tough decisions, but I couldn't stay in this lie anymore. I wanted her out of my life, but I also wanted to understand what this all meant for us. I was hurt deeply, and I was starting to realize that trust, once broken, might never be repaired. The only thing I was sure of was that I'd never see her the same way again, and I'd be damned if I let her keep treating me like I was some fool she could manipulate. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind was a jumble of anger, sadness, and a strange sense of numbness. I kept replaying the night before, her words, her lies, the way she looked at me with that fake, innocent face. I couldn't believe I had been so blind, so trusting. How did it all come to this? We'd been through so much together, good times, bad times, and I never thought I'd be sitting here, contemplating divorce over some stupid affair. I spent the day trying to piece together what to do. Part of me wanted to pack my bags, leave her behind, and never look back. The other part was still hoping she'd realize how much she'd screwed up and somehow come clean, admit she loved me and want to fix this. But deep inside, I knew that was a pipe dream. Once trust is broken that badly, it's almost impossible to rebuild. Still, I had to talk to her again, get some clarity, and maybe force her to face what she'd done. She tried to act normal, calling me honey, pretending everything was fine, but I saw right through her. The way she avoided eye contact, the way she kept fidgeting, she was guilty as hell. I told her I needed to know everything, no more lies. She hesitated, then finally admitted that she had been seeing David for a while, but she insisted it was just sex, that she was bored with me, and that she didn't want to hurt me but couldn't help herself. Her words felt like a slap. I asked her why she kept lying, why she kept sneaking around. She shrugged and said she was trying to figure out what she wanted, that I'd become too boring, too predictable, that she needed excitement, and David gave her that. I asked if she loved him, and she said she didn't know, that she was confused. Confused. After all these years, after everything we built, it was like she was giving me a slap in the face, telling me I was nothing, just some guy she married out of convenience. I realized I was getting angrier by the minute. I told her I couldn't stay married to someone who didn't respect me, who didn't value what we had. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, rolling her eyes, saying I was overreacting and that I was just jealous because I couldn't satisfy her anymore. That really hit a nerve. I felt a surge of rage. How dare she accuse me of that? I told her she was a cheating bitch who threw everything we had out the window for some quick sex with a guy who probably only cares about her body. She started crying then, fake tears, the kind she'd been rehearsing behind my back. She said she was sorry, that she loved me, that she'd stop seeing David if I wanted her to. But I didn't believe her. I knew it was just her way of trying to manipulate me again. I told her she'd burned that bridge, that I wasn't going to be played anymore. I was done pretending everything was okay. I told her I'd be making some decisions soon, and whatever happened from here on out, she'd have to live with the consequences. That day, I booked a lawyer. I knew I had to get my ducks in a row, just in case. I also started thinking about how I'd tell our friends and family, how I'd explain her betrayal. I felt so betrayed, so humiliated. How could she do this to me, too? I kept thinking about the moments I'd trusted her, the promises she'd broken, and I felt like I didn't even know her anymore. Honestly, a part of me still wanted to believe she'd come back and admit she was wrong, but deep down, I knew that was a fantasy. She was who she was, bitchy, selfish, and now a cheater. While I was trying to process everything, I remembered the footage again. David walking into our room, her lying about going to the spa, all of it. I realized I'd been a fool to think she loved me, that her stress and boredom were just excuses. Nope, she'd been sneaking around, probably cheating on me before this trip even started, and I was only catching up now. That realization made me angrier still. I felt this burning need to get revenge, to make her feel the pain she'd caused me. But I also knew I had to be smart about it, not let her get away with everything. So I started planning. I wanted her to see what she'd lost, to really feel the fallout of her betrayal. I wasn't going to just walk away. No, I was going to hit her where it hurt, in a way she wouldn't see coming. It was time to turn the tables, but I also was scared, honestly. This betrayal had changed everything about how I saw her, about how I saw myself. I was hurt, humiliated, but also furious. And in the back of my mind, I was starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, I deserved better than someone who would lie and cheat behind my back. I didn't want to be her fool anymore. Not after this. Over the next few days, I couldn't focus on anything except the betrayal. I stayed up at night, obsessively reviewing the hotel footage, trying to find any clue I might have missed. Every time I saw David entering that room, every time I replayed Emily's guilty expressions, my stomach clenched tighter. It wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about the fact that she had lied to me for so long, manipulated me, and used me like I was some fool she could string along. I started gathering evidence, screenshots of her secret messages, details about her phone calls, pictures I found in her email trash. I wanted to make sure I had everything ready for the inevitable confrontation. I knew she'd deny everything at first, but I wanted to be prepared. I also decided I needed to hit her where it hurt, in a way she'd never see coming. One afternoon, I finally confronted her again. I told her I knew about her affair with David, that I had enough evidence to take to a lawyer. She looked furious, her face twisting into that bitchy sneer she always wore when she was trying to manipulate someone. So what? You're just gonna ruin everything over some stupid sex. Grow up, she spat. You're just jealous because I'm better in bed now. That's all this is. I felt my blood boil. I told her she wasn't fooling anyone anymore, that I knew she'd been cheating on me for months. I told her I didn't want her to come crawling back when she realized she'd lost everything. I warned her that I was going to make sure she paid for this, that I wasn't going to let her get away with destroying what we had without consequences. Her reaction was pure contempt. She rolled her eyes and said I was a pathetic, insecure loser. She told me she didn't love me anymore, that she was done pretending, that she'd already moved on, and the only thing she cared about now was her own happiness. She practically dared me to do something about it. That moment, I realized she was dead serious about leaving, about throwing everything away because she was bored or whatever bullshit excuse she wanted to tell herself. I felt such a surge of anger I almost couldn't breathe. How could she be so cold, so callous? All the years I'd supported her, loved her, and she just threw it all in the trash for some guy who probably only cared about her body. I told her she was a selfish bitch, that she'd regret this someday. She just laughed and said I was pathetic, that I was too weak to handle the truth. I knew then that I had to act, and fast. I called a lawyer that same day and started the divorce proceedings. I wanted her out, wanted her to face the consequences of her actions. But even as I did that, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was losing her forever. It hurt so badly, like a part of me was dying inside. I kept thinking about all the plans we made, the future we dreamed of, and how she just threw it all away for some fleeting excitement. Meanwhile, I started planning my revenge, not just the legal stuff, though that was part of it, but something more personal. I wanted her to see what she lost, to feel the pain she'd caused. I knew she thought she'd won, that she could cheat and lie and get away with it. But I was going to make sure she paid, in ways she'd never expect. I also started talking to a few friends, people I trusted. I wanted their advice, their support, because I knew I was heading into a dark place. I told them everything, how she'd lied, cheated, and how I was planning to respond. Some of them told me to just walk away, forget about her. Others said to make her suffer a little, get her back for what she did. I wasn't sure what I'd do yet, but I knew one thing: I wasn't going to be her fool anymore. She'd underestimated me, and I was going to make sure she regretted it every step of the way. All the while, I couldn't help but feel betrayed, humiliated, and furious. But I also knew I had to stay strong. I couldn't let her turn me into someone I didn't recognize. This was my life, my marriage, my dignity, and I was going to take it back, no matter how much it hurt. I learned that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you the most. And when they do, the only thing left to do is fight back, rebuild, and move on better and stronger than before. In the days that followed, I threw myself into planning my next moves. The divorce papers were filed, and I was already preparing for the final showdown. I knew Emily thought she'd already won. She was out of the house, free to see David, free to live her new life. But I wanted her to see that she hadn't just betrayed me, she'd also lost her footing. I wasn't going to let her walk away unscathed, not after what she did. I started by making sure I had all the evidence I needed. Hidden cameras, screenshots of her messages, hotel security footage, whatever I could find. I wanted to keep my options open. If it came to a messy court battle, I needed to have everything documented. I also contacted a private investigator just to confirm I wasn't missing anything. That way, I'd have a clear picture of her new life, and I could use it if I decided to expose her to our friends and family. Meanwhile, I kept my distance from her. I didn't want her to think I was desperate or broken. I wanted her to see that I was still standing, stronger than ever. It was hard, though. Every time I looked at her, I felt this surge of anger and disappointment. How did I get here? How did I let her treat me like this? I kept replaying the moments when I ignored the signs, when I brushed off my gut instincts. All those times I doubted myself, I wished I paid more attention. I also started plotting some carefully thought-out revenge. Not just legally, but personally. I wanted her to feel the pain of her own betrayal. I started sharing my story with a few trusted friends, people who knew us well. Some of them told me I should just cut her out completely, block her, move on. Others urged me to do something more, to make her see what she lost. I wasn't sure yet what I'd do, but I knew I had to do something that would make her regret crossing me. One night, I decided to confront her directly. I found her at her new apartment. She'd moved out of our house, probably to be closer to David. I walked in, calm but angry. I told her I knew everything about David, the affair, her lies, and that I wasn't going to be her fool anymore. She smirked and told me I was just jealous, that I'd never been enough for her, that she was finally free. That moment, I saw her true colors. She thought she was untouchable, that she could cheat and lie and walk away without consequences. I told her I was done playing her game. I handed her the divorce papers, told her to sign them, and that I was going to do everything I could to make sure she paid for her lies. I wanted her to understand that she couldn't just discard a marriage like it was nothing. That she'd lost her family, her respect, and her integrity in one reckless move. Her face twisted in anger, but she signed the papers anyway. It was her way of admitting defeat, even if she'd never say it out loud. As I walked out that night, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. I was finally taking control, reclaiming my dignity. But inside, I was broken, crushed by the betrayal. I'd never felt so humiliated, so betrayed. And yet, I knew I couldn't let her continue to destroy what was left of me. I had to rebuild, to heal, to move forward. I knew she'd try to spin it, to paint herself as the victim, but I didn't care anymore. I was done letting her manipulate me. In the days that followed, I cut ties with her completely. No more calls, no more texts. I wanted her out of my life, out of my mind. I started focusing on myself, therapy, working out, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected. I also made it a point to tell everyone what she'd done. I didn't want her to get away with her lies, her secrets. I wanted the truth out there, that she'd betrayed me, lied to everyone, and thought she'd get away with it. But I was determined to make sure she didn't. Looking back now, I realize I learned a lot through this nightmare, not just about her, but about myself. I learned that even the most confident marriages can fall apart if honesty and respect are lost. I learned that sometimes the person you trust most can turn out to be the biggest liar. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought, that I can survive betrayal, rebuild my life, and come out better on the other side. I don't regret the pain. It's made me more cautious, more aware. And I know now with certainty that I deserve better. In the aftermath of everything, I've come to realize that the pain of betrayal cuts deep, but it also forces you to confront who you really are. I won't pretend I'm over it yet. Some nights still hit me hard, and I wrestle with feelings of anger, sadness, and even a strange sense of relief. The betrayal was a brutal blow, but it also woke me up. It made me see that I was allowing myself to be too trusting, too forgiving of someone who clearly didn't deserve it. I've learned a lot about boundaries and self-respect. I understand now that honesty isn't just a word, it's the foundation of any real relationship. Without it, everything crumbles. Emily's lies and cheating shattered my trust, but I refuse to be a victim forever. I've started rebuilding my life, piece by piece, focusing on the things that bring me peace, my work, my friends, my hobbies. I've even started dating again, cautiously, because I know now what I deserve and what I won't tolerate. I think the biggest lesson I've learned is that revenge isn't about smashing someone's life to bits. It's about reclaiming your own. It's about taking your power back and making a statement that you won't be used or lied to anymore. I don't wish Emily any ill will. I just want her to understand that her actions have consequences, that she's not invincible, and that honesty really is the best policy. I hope she feels the weight of her choices someday, but honestly, I'm done caring about her opinion. Moving forward, I'm choosing to focus on myself. I won't let her define my worth or my happiness. I'll carry the scars of her betrayal, but I won't let them control me. I've realized that being strong doesn't mean pretending everything's okay. It means facing the truth head-on and understanding that sometimes the only way to heal is to let go of what's broken. So, here I am, better, wiser, and more cautious, but still hopeful. I still believe in love and trust in the possibility of genuine happiness. But I also know that I won't settle anymore. I won't tolerate lies, cheating, or anyone who doesn't respect me. I've been through hell, but I'm still standing. And I'm determined to build a future based on honesty, respect, and real connection. For anyone out there going through something similar, trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs. And if you find yourself betrayed, remember that your worth isn't defined by someone else's lies. Take your power back, learn from it, and move forward. Because at the end of the day, the only person who can truly save you is yourself.